Hi, my name is Trent Smith, and this is my wife, Brooklyn. She has graciously agreed to participate in this video for our class. So are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. The first question is, what is your definition of ethnicity?
So I don't have a very well-defined definition of ethnicity, but the first thing that comes to mind when I think of ethnicity is a person's skin color. If you were filling out something, I would say ethnicity. And that tends to be geographically where somebody is either from or their ancestors are from. And yeah, so that's my definition.
Yeah, I think that's really good. There's definitely a few terms that kind of get thrown around that are easy to sometimes get confused and mix them up a little bit. I think the three terms that kind of get in this conglomerate of an idea is ethnicity, race, and nationalism. So you talked about where a person is from, and the country that they have their citizenship would be nationalism. Their race is their skin color. Ethnicity is a little bit harder to define. It can be culture. You talked about ancestry, and yeah, that's a huge part of ethnicity. Part of what types of music do people listen to? What type of foods do they eat? All of these things contribute to ethnicity. So the second question I have is, what would you say is the most commonly held misconception about your ethnicity?
I think it depends on which ethnicity is looking at my ethnicity. So I think every different race has a different misconception of another. So it just kind of depends on, I feel like the most common, at least in Texas, that I feel is either we are very privileged or we're automatically racist. But that goes anyway for any different ethnicity or race as well, I think. So
Yeah, absolutely. So the third question is, have you ever felt excluded based on your ethnicity, and why?
I'm trying to think. I think to say that I've never been excluded would not be true. It's hard to think of like a specific example. I feel like that happened more to me probably in high school than anything. As you get older, I feel like it doesn't happen as much. Specifically, I can think of like I was in drill team, I danced, and it's either you're automatically like judged by your body type or your skin color for dancing. And so yeah, I would never be like, oh, you're gonna do hip hop. No, Brooklyn's not doing hip hop. So and that was like before even you were asked or anything. So I think in that sense, by race and ethnicity, I was excluded from things like that. Or I've noticed that a lot in dance. So even if you were at a school dance or anything like that, that's the first thing that comes to my head. But that's been a long time ago.
Yeah, you can definitely see how some stereotypes come in these situations and cause discrimination in certain situations for sure. Thanks for sharing. So the fourth question is, do you remember excluding others based on ethnicity?
I can't specifically remember a time, I'm sure unintentionally. I feel like everyone has done that in different ways in their lives without realizing it. I do try to be. I don't. I have friends of every background, and so I can't particularly remember ever doing that to somebody. I specifically think of, my friend Trisha, and
Sure.
I would never exclude her because of her ethnicity or race or anything like that. So she's my best friend. So.
And then lastly, how important is it that people understand people of other ethnicities?
I think it's extremely important. I think that's something I'm learning more and more as I get older. I think it as you're younger, you don't really think about that. It's a lot more serious conversations, and but the more that you think about how everyone has grown up differently, how they all have just been taught differently based off their families' backgrounds and ethnicity and race. I've found myself wanting to learn more and more about how people grew up or how their lives have been. And I think it's super important for us all to be understanding of each other as we go about our everyday life. The more you understand somebody, the more you can love them. So.
Sure. All right, well, that wraps up our questions. I really appreciate you participating.
Thanks.